Saturday night, under the lights, basically, it was turning into there at Martinsville for the Xfinity Series round of 8 finale, and chaos ensued on those final couple of restarts. And then ultimately the big move. Ty Gibbs wrecked his teammate Brandon Jones on the final lap to win the race after he had already been locked in, and knocks Brandon Jones out of a shot at a title next Sunday. And Justin Allgaier is the benefactor, as he is going to be taking that fourth and final spot. AJ Allmendinger is also out. Not the way he would have wanted to end his full-time Xfinity Series career before moving up to Cup next year for Kaulig, but got into it late there with Allgaier, obviously. But the move for Gibbs and Jones, I mean, I'm beyond pissed. I think it's ridiculous what Gibbs did there. For the company's grandson to pull off that kind of move, and he's just going to have a little bit of a talking to, like after how many times he's been having to be told this. I mean, he's had a lot of instances throughout the year. He's been fined, for heaven's sakes, in the Cup Series. Like, I know he's, 20 years old, but you got to see a little bit of maturity when you're taking over the 18 car next year in a full-time capacity, the mothership of the Cup Series for that organization that it has been for many, many years. Prior to Kyle Busch, that was always been the main car in terms of number.
Literally is.
Right. So that's the number, that's the car, that's the team. And I mean, the immaturity that this kid is showing right now, both on the track and off the track, is flabbergasting to me that, they think he's mentally ready for the Cup Series. Talent-wise, he's fantastic. He's done unbelievable in the lower ranks. I think he's progressed faster than anybody ever thought he would have. To be able to go up to the Cup Series after one full-time Xfinity Series season is pretty remarkable. Still has a shot at a championship, obviously, this upcoming Saturday. But, man, I feel so bad for Brandon Jones. I mean, he did everything really right in that race, qualified on the pole, led a bunch of laps. And, I'm fine with them bumping and banging there late in the race on the restarts, having to line up next to each other. That's fair game. If you do it to him and he does it back to you, manos y manos, you knock it out. But I mean, he wrecked him. Like he I don't care if he said that he was meant to move him out of the way. I mean, he knew what he was doing. So as much as Jesus Christ wants to save Ty Gibbs and everything like that right now, and how he's the second coming right now, like I find it absolutely moronic that this kid can pull that off. And then Coy Gibbs, and not even Joe Gibbs, has I don't even know if he was at the track, but if he was at the track,
should be his father, not.
No, I think the organization, the owner of the team, should be in there. That's the grandson. That's the owner of the team. I don't care about what Coy Gibbs has to say. I want to hear from the man himself, Joe Gibbs, the guy that's giving him the seat. It's not Coy, it's Joe. And it's not, what Denny Hamlin said. Bring back. Well, I mean, I wish JD was here, because I think a lot of things have gone wrong since JD has left for a lot of different reasons. But what are your thoughts? I mean, like, I think it's completely ridiculous that Ty Gibbs is allowed to do that and maybe just let it slide under the rug a little bit. And, he gets to go race for a title when a company car, they could have gone 2-2 with Junior Motorsports on Saturday, and they can't now because his own teammate wrecked them.
Is it stupid? Yeah. Is it immature to a certain extent? Yeah. If this is any other driver, what other team is like, what's a team going to do? Like, what team's going to, like, what do you expect them to, like, suspend him for a race? Like,
no, I don't necessarily think suspend him, but like, we'll talk to him, we'll do it behind closed doors.
That's the professional way to handle things.
But no, but like, you got to make like what he did wasn't right.
Yeah, you do that behind the scenes. You don't sewer the guy in public.
You're talking
you're talking about like immaturity or whatever. That would be the immature way to handle it publicly. If you're a team owner, if you're a father of a person, like, it's not just an ownership thing, it's also a family thing. You handle that behind the scenes. You scold the guy behind the scenes. You don't sewer him in person going into a championship race.
It's too family run. It's too much of that.
Yeah, it's motorsports.
Yeah, I think to this extent, though, like,
what, they're not supposed to let him drive for him?
Having a little bit of public criticism is not the worst thing. I disagree on that. I think they were pretty light on him,
saying that they're disappointed with his actions.
Yeah, but the way that he said them, it's different. Like,
again, because it's the mature way to handle it. It's the professional way to handle it. I don't think you can criticize a driver for acting immaturely on the track and then criticize the team for acting maturely off the track.
Like, I just feel like I feel like he's going to get away with it too easy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what they're going to say behind closed doors, obviously.
If they're like acting the same way behind closed doors, yeah. If they're not chewing him out, telling him this is stupid, you can't do this. Why would you do this kind of thing? You need to be a good teammate, blah, 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 whatever. That's what you do behind the scenes. If they're not doing that behind the scenes, then yeah, absolutely. But I don't see any scenario why it would make any sense for JGR as an organization to chew out their driver. If it was Brandon Jones doing this to Ty Gibbs and they reacted the same way, this wouldn't be the reaction. And that would be the right way to handle it as well. Like, I don't agree with anything that Ty Gibbs did there. I think it's completely stupid from just an on-track perspective. But from the professional side of the people owning the team, what they should do, I think it's the right way to handle it. You handle that stuff behind closed doors. You don't air out your dirty laundry.
Well, Jesus is on his side. So, he's got him in his back corner at least. So he's got Joe Gibbs, Coy Gibbs, and Jesus. So that's a great trio for Ty. I mean, it just feels like he's had it too. I mean, obviously it's tough to say, like, he's been given the opportunity, right? He's taken the most of his talents and the equipment that he's in. It's not like he's, run terribly in them. He's won races. He's scored a lot of stage wins, a lot of laps. He's had a very impressive season, but what will his season be remembered as? I mean, if he wins the title, obviously a championship winning season, but if he doesn't, I think the negative stuff almost go toe to toe, maybe even surpass the positive stuff, where he has shown growth in some areas. I will give him that. He has shown a little bit more respect. I think a lot of people can, maybe almost turned their heads a little bit when he beat Larson at Road America, right? I feel like that was like, oh, hey, look at this kid, and he was pretty respectable afterwards. And I feel like he had a good stretch of runs there where it wasn't bad. And then I don't know if it's necessarily the fact that, I mean, it's a combination of things, right? He felt like he was robbed in the spring race. I disagree. Like, I mean, that's racing what happened in the spring where Jones won the race. And he got bumped out of the way, the mayor fight and everything, and everything that happened after that. But as soon as he's gotten this Cup Series ride, not necessarily for next year, but when he's taken over for Kurt, I think a lot of that's, maybe not a lot, but like, I think a lot of that's, I say a lot, I think a little bit has gone to his head in terms of like how fast he's grown. He's gotten up through the ranks and like, hey, I'm a Cup Series guy. I mean, he has done jack squat in that 23 car since he's got in after the first race, basically. Like, I don't think that's getting talked about enough where, yeah, he's getting reps, that's a Toyota car. That's very similar to probably what the 18 car is going to be next year in terms of,
I don't know overall, about that.
In what way?
I think you overestimate how much of a relationship 2311 and Joe Gibbs have.
I don't know if I necessarily
I wouldn't say that it's the same car.
No, I wouldn't say that they're the same car, but I think it's very similar in terms of what the expectations are. Either. I think they're very close, based off of what 2311 speed has been. I think they've shown a lot of progression.
No, come on. Like the 18 car is expected to go for a championship. Kurt Busch was not expected to go for a championship in the 45. Like, come on. There's a bit of a difference there.
But at the end of this year, right, the 45 car or the 23 or whatever, that car has been much faster than the 18. Right? Like, I mean,
not really.
I would say so. Much more consistent for at the very least. I think they've been able to show up to the track and execute pretty darn well compared to the 18 team, which has just been a freaking what show the past half a season. I mean, it's been ridiculous how bad they've been. They've had chances to win, but bad luck and overall, reliability has let them down in some cases too. But like, I do think him having that car early and the fact that he was given that ride to replace Kurt, I think some of that stuff has gone to his head a little bit. And,
also,
I think he feels like he's got some. I don't feel like he has.
What has he done since he gotten that ride that makes you feel like his actions have changed since before?
I think maybe the incident on pit road there.
Because I think that doesn't matter.
Like, I think having a message like that where it's
Like, I
Go
don't
ahead.
think in the moment where he's getting angry and reacting like that, he's going, I'm a Cup Series driver. I'm better than you. I'm going to hit you. I think that's him
No,
getting
I don't
hit
think
on
that's
pit
what he's
road.
thinking.
He's going, screw you, and he's reacting. I don't think it has anything to do with him being in a Cup, right? Because that pit road stuff happened in the Cup Series. So if that was going to be the case, wouldn't he be reacting like that in Xfinity and be acting quote unquote normally or respectfully in the Cup Series?
That's a good point. I think I feel like he feels like he's earned respect, but he hasn't yet. You know what I mean? Like, I think he wants that respect as a Cup Series
like,
level
what
driver,
actions though? Like,
but he hasn't gotten that.
What makes
He
you
doesn't
feel that
deserve
way?
that.
Like, what has he done to make you feel like that's what he thinks, that he deserves respect or he's earned respect or whatever?
I think just, holier than thou in a way attitude that he kind of holds himself to. I know he obviously has his beliefs and everything like that. I'm never going to judge anybody's beliefs on that. But I think he takes it that step too far where he he just like feels like lo and behold, here I am. I'm like, I'm the guy kind of thing. And I think he's been raised in that scenario, in this kind of situation where he's been led to believe that. And I don't think that's the case whatsoever. He's been given every opportunity and he has taken advantage of them, like I said, but his attitude in terms of how it's very fake to me on how he talks. And that's probably from a lack of maturity.
That, it's either one or the other. It's either he acts that way and he believes that way. It's fake. It can't be both.
Maybe it's a mixture, if that's fair to say. Like, when I see him kind of do press and stuff, like, I don't necessarily believe what he's saying.
Well, that's just any media trained athlete. I don't know. Like, you can look at, like, not to make it a hockey thing, but you can look at Mitch Marner quotes and be like, oh, this is a guy that's saying bullshit just because it's a media thing and he knows how to talk.
I wouldn't say that he knows how to talk. Yes, he does. In terms of like, he knows how to say the right sound, say the right things, but I don't know if he believes it.
In the 21st century, or like at least right now, has been media trained to the point where when they know how to say the quote unquote right thing. And to a certain extent, that's what Ty Gibbs does, and that's what he should do to a certain extent. It's not great from a media perspective. You wish you would say what's on his mind, whatever. But I think part of the quote unquote learning process that people have wanted him to go through is the early season stuff where he's making certain comments about certain drivers or whatever. And instead of doing those things, he's either being apologetic in post race or in interviews and stuff like that. Like, my mind goes back to the Ryan Sieg stuff where it was, this is back and forth, blah, blah, blah. And then they have a couple of on-track incidents. It goes afterwards. And then it gets to the point where he's apologetic or whatever. Whether it's truthful or not, that's a media trained thing. And people are like, okay, he's learning, whatever. And I don't think it can kind of be like both sides of it from that perspective. Like, it can't be both of fair. He's fake, he whatever, blah, 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 but also he should be professional. He
actually is that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, that's fair. I wish I'd see more personal growth over the course of this season from him. Like, I feel like he's just been saying the same stuff over and over and over again. And I haven't really seen much of a change, and that is evidenced by Saturday's incident. Like, if you had learned bigger picture stuff, like the Ty Gibbs Racing stuff is no joke to an extent, because like, he feels like he can get away with that stuff because his dad is an executive and his grandfather owns the team. Like, his name's on the door. I don't think Brandon Jones wouldn't do that. I don't agree with the move
or anything like that.
No,
but like,
I don't think
when you say
does.
He can get away with it, if it was Noah Gragson dumping Josh Berry, or let's say it was Noah Gragson dumping Sam Mayer, and Sam Mayer gets knocked out from the championship race, like, is Noah Gragson not getting away with that? Like, what do you mean by getting away with it? Like, what are the ramifications that are supposed to happen?
In a racing sense, it's always difficult.
Because like, I hear people say like he can get away with it, blah, blah, blah.
He's just consistently being rewarded with stuff, and he's not having to pay the price in a way. Like, he's getting a Cup Series
isn't
ride.
That every good driver? Like, you can look over the history of the
after a season like this, where he's had so many different like incidents on the track. Like, a lot of people in the past would not be seen as a Cup Series level driver at that point, maturity wise. Talent wise has nothing to do with it, right? Like, maturity wise, I think we've, the press and the media and everybody is, we've been pretty honest. I'm going to say that we're press, but like when there's been past instances where, we've seen this level of, incidents at a lower level. Like, I mean, we saw Gregson even do it earlier this year. Like, but I feel like
he's somebody that's also moving up to the Cup Series.
I feel like he has grown from that, though.
And I think that's fair to say, but
there is an age discrepancy there. Yeah. And money and whatever. Like, there's a lot of different things.
But like the point that you're making, it makes it seem like the only reason he's getting a Cup Series right is because his last name is Gibbs. If he wasn't tied to Joe Gibbs Racing, if he was just Joe Smith, who had no affiliations with any manufacturer or anything,
Joe Smith,
every Cup Series team is trying to get him in.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
I understand the frustration. I think it's an incredibly dumb move to move your teammate who was objectively worse at Phoenix than Justin Allgaier and let a different guy get into the championship.
Well, don't remember
all that different stuff.
He beat Kyle Busch that one time.
No, I'm not saying he's not good at Phoenix or anything like that, but Justin Allgaier is great at Phoenix. All of that kind of stuff. It's an incredibly stupid move from his own perspective. And I think from an on-track perspective, you got to look bigger picture, blah, 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 whatever. I'm not saying that it's a good move or anything like that. I think that people are crucifying him because that's probably not the right word to use given all the comments. Sorry. But I think people are overly critical of Ty Gibbs because it's Ty Gibbs. And I don't like the guy. And I've been vocal of that for a long time. I'm not particularly fond of him. But I think that this kind of situation has been overblown to an extent because his name is Ty Gibbs.
Fair point.
Like I said, if this is Noah Gragson dumping Sam Mayer, it's completely different.
Yeah.
The reaction. So
yeah, and obviously that,
and it's just as stupid
element
if it's
having
Noah
the last
Gragson
name as the
dumping
same
Sam
card
Mayer.
owner, right? Like all these different things just
I get it.
Add up to that, but like
whether it's the perspective of not being criticized more in the media by his team owners. I don't see why any team owner should be criticizing their driver to a certain extent beyond what I saw from specifically Coy. I didn't really see anything from Joe Gibbs.
He didn't say anything.
You can say whatever you want about that, and I think that's fair. But I don't think that
that's more my issue than maybe the statement is that Joe didn't step up and say something because that's his car that he took out.
And that's fine. And I think there's a certain
I don't need
extent,
the fatherly figure coming in, and
that's very fair.
That's my boy.
And I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I think that's fair to say. At the same time, I think that in professional sports, you make those blasé comments in the media and you handle things properly behind closed doors if you're running a professional operation. And that's what Joe Gibbs Racing is. So I understand where the criticisms come from. I understand why people are mad at Ty Gibbs and everything. I think it was a dumb move as well. But for me, I think the difference is that I think it's a stupid move and something that he needs to learn bigger picture and stuff like that versus a spoiled brat who's getting his way because his last name is Gibbs. I think that's the difference for me.
Yeah, I can understand that perspective 100%. I think it's good to
have
different perspectives. And it's not that
one is right or wrong. No, it's obviously 100%. A very nuanced situation.
Yeah.
Especially when a last name is involved in all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I think, at least for myself, I look at it and I go, kind of the way that everything is handled there. I don't think that there's any difference if it's star driver A dumping teammate B in a silly situation. So that I think that's where the difference between me and you kind of is in our perspective.
Yeah. All good. Love the conversation.
Yeah, no, it was good.
Appreciate it. I think we get into our picks now, Kyle. We've lingered long enough.
So clearly, you're picking Ty Gibbs as your favorite driver for the Xfinity Championship, right?
I hope he's wrecked on lap one. I hope he doesn't even make the grid. I hope he doesn't. I need RC to bring him his watch.
Oh man, good stuff.